Hey everyone, Sal here. Recently I ran quite a bit of the so-called infinite harvest sextant strategy, and I thought I'd record some loose findings and report them in the form of a video. This won't be the most scientific thing or anything like that. I just wanted to try out a relatively popular strategy since it aligned with some of my goals, and I figured I'd report my findings back in a video just to provide some commentary and insight as to how it worked out for me. If you enjoy the video or find it helpful or entertaining at all, a like, comment, or subscription would be much appreciated. Let's get into it. For those that might be completely unaware, the strategy revolves around 2 or 3 core sextants depending on who you ask, and those are that your maps always contain the Sacred Grove. Each harvest in your maps has at least 1 crop of yellow plants, and life force is duplicated. Important note here, this wasn't exactly clear to me before running this, but harvest is not the entire Sacred Grove. Harvests are what the game uses. Harvest is the term the game uses to refer to a set of 2 crops that you're choosing between. So that means each set of 2 crops will have at least 1 crop of yellow plants. So if you get 4 different things to choose from, you're going to have at least 4 yellow plants in there, 1 at each. So that means you'll always be able to pick yellow plants if you so desire. Last one, I don't know if you'll run this in trade, but definitely should in solo self-found. First 3 possessed monsters drop an additional gilded scarab, and if we run over to the harvest bench here, we can see the mod we're looking to use is, for 2500 yellow, enchant a non-unique map with map doesn't consume sextant charges. So the idea is to use these 2 to force harvest, get double life force, and life force of the type that you want. And then this sextant is used in conjunction with Seance. Up to 5 of your monsters will be possessed. So pretty much you'll get 3 gilded scarabs back every map, and you use those in conjunction with Growing Hordes to get more pack size. Pack size increases the amount you're going to get from your harvest, so it helps you sustain your life force. With the core idea being that if you're sustaining life force, getting at least 2500 a map on average, then you can use any 4th sextant any number of times because it's never going to consume charges. That's the general idea anyways. It rarely works out that way, except in like super long periods of time because the strategy is highly variable, and I'll get into that a bit later. But in solo self-found, even I think it is well worth the cost of the life force you're going to get, especially because you can do other things to kind of bolster your supply, kind of in between strategies, so to speak. So yeah, these are the 3 core sextants, and then you use 1 payoff sextant. So here, final boss in each map drops an additional Conqueror Map. So pretty much you're going to get guaranteed a Conqueror Map every map you run, instead of the baseline chance plus the increase from the Atlas passive here. There are equivalent sextants for the Shaper and Elder Guardians as well. I'm not sure how many uses there are for this type of solo self-found setup outside of Guardian maps, because you need to be dedicating sextants to Growing Hordes if you want to sustain life force. And if you're doing that, that means you can't use sextants to enable content. So for example, you could use like a Chayula breach sextant, but then you wouldn't be able to use breach scarabs to add more breach to your map, which is probably something you want to do. So it's a bit of a toss-up. You could obviously just go ahead and use life force and do things that way, but obviously that's kind of a whole separate deal and not really an infinite strategy, so to speak. So there is some Atlas kind of finickiness that goes along with the strategy, and my Atlas I've changed to do my follow-up strategy. So here is what my Atlas looked like at the time that I actually ran the maps. 60 maps in total, as the title suggests, and this was pretty much my strategy for it. I had one more point. I don't remember where this point was. It was probably quantity or map duplication. But this tree is a little bloated. There's a lot more than you need, per se. The core things are pretty much all of the harvest nodes except the chance. So completely omitting this cluster since it's all chance innate harvest. Seance to get the guaranteed possessed monsters. I will say, important to note, that it is up to 5 rare monsters. I had one map during this session of 60 that only had 1 possessed rare monster in it. So I only got 1 gilded scarab back. So yeah, I don't know how often that happens. I mean, there are obviously more rare mobs than just 1 in the whole map, but they weren't possessed. So that was interesting, and the only time I've had that happen across hundreds of maps running Seance in total. So yeah, Seance absolutely necessary. All of the harvest nodes that boost your rate of yellow juice. Even these nodes down here, even though, like I said, you'll get 1 crop per harvest that's going to be yellow, you want to take these nodes anyways to increase the chance that the other one is also yellow. And why is that? Well, 2 reasons. If you take this passive here, nope, not that one. Is it this one? Nope. This one. Okay. 10% chance for the unchosen crop not to wilt. So if you have 2 yellow crops and this activates, then you're getting more yellow juice. Another thing is, say you do get a guaranteed yellow crop and it has no tier 3 mobs. Most of the life force is coming from tier 3 mobs. So if you increase the chance that the other one is also yellow, if it becomes yellow, that means more chances to get more tier 3 beasts. So pretty much all in the name of increasing the amount of yellow life force you can get to increase the consistency of the strategy. Harvest also scales very well with pack size, so that's why we utilize Growing Hordes in conjunction with the Gilded Scarab Sextant. If you're using 4, you're obviously at a net loss of Gilded Scarabs for 40% increased pack size. What I was doing was using 3 Gilded Scarabs, which would be sustained from Seance and the Sextant, or the Sextant for Scarabs. And I'd use 1 polished for my 4th slot. You could use rusted as well. Probably doesn't make a huge difference overall, but I'd probably at least throw a rusted in there even if you're in solo self-found. On top of that, subtle manipulations for chance to save scarabs. A lot of S sounds there. Is also pretty nice because, again, just scarab sustain. If you're using 3 gilded, 1 rusted, for example, this is going to mean you're going to gain gilded scarabs over time. Anything beyond that is completely optional. A lot of this stuff is in here because I didn't want to pull out points for this strategy just to put them back in for the thing I'm going to do next, which is actually run the Conqueror Maps. So I kind of left a lot of overlapping stuff like the mechanic blocking down here, the map nodes over here. Oh, yeah, this one is actually mandatory, Shaping of the Valleys. Because you're going to run Fortune Favors the Brave to get increased pack size here. 3 chaos every map for 10% pack size. That's a price you're more than willing to pay when you're running this strategy. Again, this isn't like a comprehensive guide. There are much better videos explaining this. I thought I'd just give a rundown and talk about my experience with it. After that, going the typical Eater of Worlds altars for various reasons. One of which is you see the quantity and rarity altars more, and there is a suggestion that those scale the amount of life force you get with Harvest. So my general mapping strategy was pretty much full clear the map. I ran a lot of linear, tight space maps like Toxic Sewer or Crimson Temple, and I would pretty much rush to the boss, killing stuff all along the way, grab the Sanctum if I see it, pick up as many quantity altars as I can, and then after the map is cleared, make my way back to the Sacred Grove and run the harvests themselves. And then I just have the Guardian map chance drop from bosses as well. I did stuff a few extra points into map duplication chance, total of 12.5% on this tree, so 1 in 8 to duplicate maps dropped, which does work for the guaranteed Conqueror drop that you're going to get from the bosses. So roughly 1 in 8 of them were duplicated. A little more than that if you pick up any map duplication altars before killing the boss. Similarly to that, you can pick up scarab duplication altars before killing possessed mobs if you're lucky, and potentially duplicate your gilded scarabs that you're going to get from those. And that's especially nice if you end up getting a nice conversion mob along the way as well, because you got a chance to duplicate a lot of gilded scarabs that way. Back in game here, we can see that I ended up with a total of 68 Conqueror maps. So I ran, not 68, 73. 45 plus 28. So 73 maps from 60 maps, which is pretty good, all things considered, I think. 60 of those are obviously guaranteed, and then you factor in map duplication and the natural drop chance, and you get up to 73. Obviously, there's some variability there. On top of that, I did have some Elder and Shaper Guardian maps drop as well from the natural chance. There were several maps actually where I had a total of 4 Guardian maps drop, because I'd have the guaranteed Conqueror map drop and then an additional Guardian map drop, and they were both duplicated. It's interesting to see the spread of each Conqueror I got, and a little unfortunate because I'm going to run these all, hopefully do some invitations as well, and you want them to line up as much as possible in terms of equal amounts of them, and you can't horizon orb them like with Shaper Guardian maps, unfortunately. Either way, you can harvest roll the fragments at the end of the day, so that is 100% what I'll end up doing. On the life force side, I ended up starting with around 29k, somewhere between 29 and 30k life force, and this is what I ended up with, just over 23k, so it is at a loss over time. 2,000 over the course of the 60 maps I did definitely isn't bad. I wanted to try to stay above 25k just so I could do the maps 10 at a time and not have to roll a map and risk forgetting to apply the modifier to it every time, because if you do that too many times, you're obviously going to lose your sextants entirely. So still a loss of 2k, not too bad all things considered. There is a risk that it goes much worse than this, of course. Like I said before, the strategy has some high variability in that the lowest amount of life force I got from a map was, I believe, 600. It was horrendous. That's obviously 1900 less than you need to be sustaining, and the highest I got was around 4,800, almost twice as much as you need to sustain. And I had 2 maps actually where I got 4,800, one of which included a tier 4 beast. So if you're going to run this, especially in solo self-found, then I'd be wary of how quickly your stockpile can dwindle, and I would definitely recommend aiming for some kind of installation. It doesn't have to be 10 maps, because this can be a lot of life force depending on how much you play and whatnot, but I'd recommend at least like 4 or 5 maps worth of life force. Obviously, if you're in Trade League, then do your due diligence on the economics of using the strategy and things of that nature if that's something you care about. I've mentioned my follow-up strategy, so to speak, for a bit, and essentially what that's going to be is my current Atlas setup, which is a hybrid Conqueror / invitation farming. I only have one Elder Slayer invitation right now, which is unfortunate, but you have an increased rate of getting them while you run the Conqueror maps. So what I'm going to do is, if I don't have an invitation, and I'm hoping to get one, I will run these extras down. So like I would run my Baron maps down to 12, or something to that effect, you know. Maybe get down to 20 and then bounce between Baron and Veritania, for example. That way I'm staying relatively even for when I do get the invitations. Now as for the rest of the strategy, what it entails is essentially I'm going to keep doing Harvest with these blocking nodes, except now I've got the extra spawn chance. Won't be using the Sextants at all. I'll just run Harvest and the maps as I normally would, except Maven influenced for the invitation purposes. Then when I have an invitation, I will spec into Wandering Path. That gives you, 18 extra quantity for the invitation, which can sometimes allow you to hit a breakpoint for better loot. Then after the fight is over, you just unspec that, and I'll just have the point floating there so I don't have to waste any points. I believe the invitations are guaranteed to give you an orb of unmaking, so basically there's no cost to doing this if you don't spec the point somewhere else, for example. You just leave that point unallocated while you're running the maps before you do your next invitation. So essentially what I'm hoping to accomplish with the Conqueror Maps is, just running the Conqueror Maps straight up, hopefully getting and doing invitations, and then being able to recoup / stockpile a bit more yellow life force just from the natural harvest chance and without the Sextant boosting and whatnot. So yeah, that's the general plan. I won't be using scarabs or anything like that either, I don't think. Might even spec into Stream of Consciousness for the extra harvest chance and go from there. Probably put out a video on that as well, in addition to I'm doing this all to farm Uber Cyrus a few times, and by a few I mean 25. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, I guess I also forgot to mention another benefit that Conqueror Maps have over the other Guardian maps is the Maven can witness the actual map boss itself before the Conqueror, which she can't do with either of the other set of Guardian maps. So you'll see here that I'm like 9 out of 10 on Maven progress. I'm only that high because of a previous set of Conqueror Maps. If you're super caring about that, you'll pay attention to what type of map it is. I don't know if it actually says here. May not. The purple Maven highlighting that says she has witnessed it already. Can probably find one here. Canyon. Oh yeah, I think I saw a canyon in there. So that won't have the purple text here, but the Maven will not witness this map again. I don't know if it's worth paying that much attention to. I just treat the 10-way invitations as a nice bonus part of this strategy. Anyways, that's been a pretty long video talking about my experience. I would definitely recommend it if you're looking to farm Conqueror or Guardian maps in general in solo self-found. Outside of that, I don't know how much application there really is for it, but we'll see. Maybe I think of something or somebody else puts out a video on their strategy and we can all enjoy that. Anyways, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.